Hello and welcome to the Capitol Report on NTD Television. I'm your host, Melina Weiskup, filling in for Steve Lance. The 18-month inquiry into January 6th comes to a close. The House January 6th committee holds its final hearing and urges the Justice Department to prosecute Trump. What it means and what the former president says in response. NTD's Iris Tao has more.
At its final hearing on Monday, the House January 6 panel voted to send criminal referrals to the Justice Department, urging it to prosecute President Trump.
We understand the magnitude of the crime against democracy that we describe in our report, but we have gone where the facts and the law lead us, and inescapably, they lead us here.
The committee is recommending 4 charges against Trump, including inciting an insurrection, obstructing an official proceeding, conspiracy to defraud the government, and conspiracy to make a false statement. It also sums up its past interviews, making one point about the former president.
He is unfit for any office.
The Justice Department already has a special counsel investigating Trump, but whether it sees any evidence to charge him with crimes is up to the department itself, as the panel's referral is just a recommendation with no legal weight. But the Justice Department declined to comment on today's recommendations, and the White House, without saying if it supports any referrals, said this today about President Biden.
Is he's going to consistently speak out about this, about what happened on that day, and will continue to speak out about defending our democracy against ongoing threats.
Meanwhile, President Trump firing back at the committee's work, calling it a kangaroo court in recent postings, and on Sunday likened the investigation to what he called Russian hoax, which turned out to be the con of the century. The committee is also referring a number of House Republicans to the House Ethics Committee for ignoring its subpoenas. Those targeted include Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy and Congressman Jim Jordan, Scott Perry, and Andy Biggs. The Biggs responded Monday on Twitter, calling the committee a partisan sham, adding that's been wasting taxpayer money. After holding its 10th hearing today, the committee is finally wrapping up its work after 18 months. It'll release a final report on Wednesday, and the committee will be disbanded after Republicans take over the House in just 2 weeks. Reporting from the White House, Iris Tao, NTD News.
Elon Musk recently released the Twitter files, which detail how the company limited the influence of certain conservative accounts and corresponded with the FBI. NTD's Steve Lance sat down with Donald Trump Jr. to hear his thoughts on this.
Donald Trump Jr., thank you so much for joining us.
Good to be with you.
The Twitter files, tell us, where is this heading?
Well, listen, I think everything that we all said was happening was obviously happening, right? Every conspiracy theory turned out not to be a conspiracy theory, but turned out to be an actual conspiracy. In this case, the FBI colluding with big tech to work as the marketing department of the radical left and the Democrat Party. I was accused of being a conspiracy theorist when I said, hey, with much smaller following, I used to get 10,000 retweets, now I'm getting 7. What happened? It's clear. And, then of course I'm in the files as one of the people they wanted to ban, and I'm sure they were shadow banning and or not amplifying or not allowed to trend, certainly in a positive fashion. So I imagine, just like everything we said was going on in Twitter, we're going to see the same thing with Russia. We're going to see the same thing with Fauci. And I'm just glad the American public finally, because we want to believe that, we live in the democracy that is totally neutral and all of these things, but it's just unfortunately not the case. These things have been manipulated. The radical left has taken that trillion-dollar institutions like big tech and social and mainstream media have really manipulated these systems. They've actually done election interference. All the things they tried accusing us of doing, they were doing themselves. Now that's as clear as day, even if it was clear for people like me who were like calling nonsense at the time, but then we were called conspiracy theorists. We were branded crazy. How many of the conspiracy theorists does, let's say the CDC owe an apology to these days for being right about everything? So the people who had the guts to stand up to it were right. They will continue to be proven so. And the reality is, how's what went on at Twitter? How's that any different than what's going on in every mainstream media outlet right now? You think it's any different at CNN It's probably worse. Do you think it's any different at MSDNC? No. ABC News, CBS News, NBC News, they're all the same. That may not get exposed because their leadership is still 100% about freedom of speech for thee, but not for me, right? So they can have free speech as long as you agree with them. The second I want to voice my opinion that may differ from the leftist talking points, all of a sudden there's no more free speech for you.
Where do you think the accountability lies?
Well, listen, I think it lies, in all sorts of places. I mean, the fact that the FBI was doing that, you saw the agent in charge, with pronouns in his bio, shocking. Of course, but these are the people that have taken on those institutions. They've gotten the leadership of the highest echelons of American law enforcement. The same people that called, concerned mothers domestic terrorists for not wanting their children to have conversations with teachers about mutilating their bodies and permanently changing their gender. Those are the people who are in charge of the FBI. The door kickers, I'll see them at this conference. They'll come up to me and be like, I hate what's going on at the FBI, but we're powerless against it. And guess what? That guy, they figure out they're a conservative, they'll never get a promotion. The radical left has taken over all of these things. You saw it in the woke military with the generals. I mean, that's not the door kicker. The guy's actually getting the work done. They're on our team. But now, hopefully, America sees how bad it is, and they finally wake up to just how badly they've been manipulated.
Donald Trump Jr., thank you.
Thank you so much. Good to be with you.
If you're using fluorescent bulbs, you may soon need to replace them with LEDs. The Biden administration announced a plan today to phase out fluorescent bulbs. The Department of Energy says that changing lighting to LEDs is part of the administration's actions toward energy efficiency. The DOE says this will save households money, roughly $100 per year. And the DOE says it will help reach their goals to cut back on greenhouse gas emissions by more than 2.4 billion metric tons over 30 years. The administration's goal is to fully replace fluorescent lighting with LEDs by 2025. Regardless of the new rule, LEDs have become more common in households. A survey from 2020 reveals that half of the nation's households already use them. The TSA, or Transportation Security Administration, is now scanning your face at select airport checkpoints. It's a pilot program in the testing phase, but it's already getting pushback. The latest additions are among the nation's busiest airports in Denver, Las Vegas, Dallas, Fort Worth, and Atlanta.
We're assessing how the technology works, and we're assessing its accuracy, we're assessing its impact on passengers.
The federal agency is committing to a nationwide rollout. This could be the largest federal use of facial data ever. That's according to Albert Fox Kahn of the nonprofit Security Technology Oversight Project. Here's his take.
This technology is going to screw it up, and people are going to end up being detained by TSA. They're going to be faced with even more surveillance and more invasions of their privacy just because an algorithm gets it wrong.
The TSA insists that it's committed to passenger privacy, immediately destroying most images and securing data from cyber attacks. Signs and security lines show when you're about to be part of this test. You can ask to opt out and have an agent confirm your ID manually. It's the holiday travel season, but there are some keepsakes you can't bring home. Here's one example. Authorities seized zebra and giraffe bones at a Washington D.C. airport. A traveler says she brought them back from Kenya as souvenirs. Customs officials say possession of the bones violate parts of the U.S. law, including international trade in endangered species of wild fauna and flora and the Lacey Act. The woman has not been charged. An official says souvenirs like those can potentially expose people, pets, and agriculture industries to serious diseases. Customs authorities say during a typical day, its agents seize a few thousand prohibited plant, meat, animal byproducts, and soil items.
Thank you for watching the Capitol Report. If you want to see our full broadcast, check us out at epochtv.com.